So this is a modification for the Twig Mav. And what's essentially going to happen is you're going to have 4 of these pieces that go like, so 2 of them will go right sides together, or wrong sides together, and then another 2 that'll go wrong sides together. And ideally what the vision here is that this is going to be sewn on. So the easiest thing that I have found that works is I'm going to pull this forward, and then I'm going to line this up. Now, there is artwork on the front of this Mav that you can use to kind of give out guide where you want to place the headpiece here, right? So what I would like to do is once I get that lined out, then I'm going to line up that piece, and I am going to line up the top and lift this up. From here, I'm going to trace the top of my Mav onto this back piece. Then I'm going to get a ruler. So the idea is you don't want to sew on that line. That line is your Mav. You also don't want to sew like right on top of this. So what I'm going to do, in theory, is I am going to sew up 1/2 inch from that line. And I'm going to do that all the way across the bottom. Then I am going to sew in 1/2 inch from the side. And then I'm going to sew 1/2 inch in from that top line. So that ultimately all I am sewing is this block right here. Then I will use some double-sided tape. Just kind of stick it right there in the center here. And I'm going to pull that off. So then what will happen is I'll pull my Mav face up, and then I can line up those lines that I drew for the Mav. And then I'm going to press that down. And then what happens here is that I will sew this down, securing it. Oh, a little low. Let's fix it. There we go. This, and then across the face. So that is what I'm going to sew on this piece. I will do the exact same thing for the back. So here is what I will sew on the back. Okay, so this is what I'm taking to the machine to sew. What I like to do is since this is going to be standing up, I want this to have a little bit of stabilizer. I would recommend something like Profuse Stiff or Decorative Light. And what you're going to do from there is then you would trace this piece onto the Decorative Light and then reduce it by 1/4 to 1/2 inch all the way around. As you can see, I didn't quite go all the way up into some of these corners, and that's fine, but that's the idea, is that we want to give this a little bit of stiffness. And you're going to do this for one piece on each side, preferably the front piece, so you don't have to fight that when you turn your Mav out. So I'm going to go to the machine, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch this down. Now from this point, you're going to want to construct your Mav exactly as directed. When you go to sew this in, remember your seam allowance should be about 1/4 inch. I would use a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this. And just remember to pull this out of the way. So when you are ready and have your Mav constructed and you're to this point, we can put it together. Now on this specific Mav, I would recommend doing the side connectors versus a backpack, because his head is going to get in the way of any kind of like crossbody sling. So for mine, I will be doing the side connectors. When you're ready to attach the front panel or the back panel to the gusset, you really want to make sure that you're paying attention and pushing this out of the way of the seam allowance so that you can go around and clip this on. And this is part of the reason why I didn't want to put the Decorative Heavy or the Decorative Light on that piece, so that it's more pliable and I can get to do what I need it to do. So when I'm attaching the lining, I am basting that lining on at 1/8 of an inch, which allows me to move the crown out of the way, or whatever we want to call this. Once you get to this point, you want to be able to stick your hat on. The best thing that we are going to want to do is just go ahead and get some double-sided tape. And then we are going to line it up. This is also the part where I tell you I will be using a absurd amount of clips, because I want to make sure that this does not move. And I want to line up all the key points that need to be lined up. So it's going to look like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up sewing it face down, and you are going to have to be comfortable with smushing the bag. I'm also going to put a piece of parchment paper down because my machine can be a little toothy sometimes, and I don't want it tearing up the front of this panel. So let's go on and head over to the machine so we can get this sewn on. I will be leaving my threads long, mostly because I want to attempt to see if I can bring the threads to the center, because I think it makes it look way more professional. I'm going to be top stitching this at 1/8 of an inch, and like I said, I hope you're comfortable smushing the bag because you're going to need to smush the bag. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the threads through the center. Now, you are going to have every urge to want to just rip this off. Don't do it. Don't do it. You've come this far, don't do it. It's just perforated now. So just kind of take your time because you don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize your stitching. So just take your time. As you can see, it's already kind of like perforated really nicely. So you just want to take your time and not rip it off. So once you get all of that off, if you decided to use it, now is when you would go around and just make sure all of your edges are nice and lined up. Give it a good trim if you need to give it a trim. Because like here, I can see I need to give it a quick trim using very sharp sharps so I don't like damage anything. But then that side is done. If you want to edge coat it, which would give it a very nice professional look, use painter's tape to go around the stuff you want to keep safe, especially like across this front here. We don't want that to get all tore up, so lay some like some kind of paper or tape across here so it doesn't get messed up. After you get one side done, you are doing the exact same thing on the other side. Remember to push the bag out of the way as you're sewing, and trim up the white stuff when you're done. And it's going to look super cute, so I will show you when it's all done. So this is the Twig add-on for the Mav pack. Super cute, super easy, and like if you wanted to take it to the next level in professionalism, definitely go in and edge coat it and give it that real nice finish. There's the Twig modification. So I'll see you around. Ta-ta.